A few months ago, God asked me to do something specific. He asked me to be obedient in something. It was something that was outside of my comfort zone. So I started dragging my feet. I started making excuses. I started putting it off. And also I started doubting whether this really was from God. I also started to get busy and stopped paying attention to what I felt God was saying to me. About 7 days later, I started to get unusually tired. I started to feel a bit anxious. I started feeling off. I started to get some chest pains and some other symptoms. And about 3 days after that point, I had sort of an episode. It was maybe a panic attack looking back, but I'm not sure. The days following this, I still continued having chest pains. I still continued feeling off and just really exhausted. It wasn't until probably another 4 days later when I stopped and started questioning what all of this was about. I started praying about it and wondered whether this was because of my disobedience to God and because I was putting off this thing He was asking me to do. I realized I was opening myself up to the attacks of the devil by being disobedient. I then acted on this thing that God asked me to do, and almost immediately the symptoms started disappearing. I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and again, the symptoms were gone. I didn't have chest pain anymore. I didn't have these heart palpitations anymore. And so from that moment, all the symptoms stopped, and it was linked to me being disobedient to God. I just once again was reminded of the importance of being obedient to God. Even if we don't really want to do it, even if we feel uncomfortable or awkward, it's so important that we just put all those feelings aside. Interestingly enough, about 10 days later, God was testing my obedience yet again, and He was asking me to share a dream that I have with someone that is quite an influential Christian person in our area. I've only met him once, never really spoken to him, but I had a dream about him that wasn't particularly positive. And so the moment I felt God asking me to share this dream with this person, I felt my heart dropped. I felt so out of my comfort zone. I had this dreaded feeling, and I just knew though I had to be obedient to God. But the memory of my previous act of disobedience was still so fresh in my mind that I didn't dare not to be obedient to God. I just had to put aside all these feelings of being uncomfortable, feeling awkward, and not really wanting to do it. But I had to just put it aside, be obedient to God, message this person and tell them the dream. Sometimes we have to go through the pain or the consequences of our disobedience and our sin to fully learn the lesson. I think that with the story of Jonah, I bet that he would have thought twice about being disobedient to God shortly after he came out of the belly of the whale, because that was still so fresh in his mind, that experience he went through, the consequences of his sin, the consequences of his disobedience, that I'm sure that he was then so ready to be faithful to God, be obedient to God. Sometimes it's really clear the things that God asks of us, the things He wants us to be obedient in, and sometimes it's in the smaller things. It's in the things that we just simply know that is the right thing for us to do. It's these personal convictions that we have. And the scripture that comes to mind, 1 James 4:17, and it says, "So whoever knows the right thing to do, but fails to do it, for him it is sin." For some of us, God gives us a personal conviction, and if we don't do that thing, for us it would be sin. So for example, it could be that God's giving you a personal conviction not to drink any alcohol. And if you fail to do it, if you drink that alcohol, for you it would be sin. Perhaps it could be that God's asked you not to be in any relationship for a period of time and just focus on Him. And so if you then do get into a relationship, for you that would be sin. It would be complete disobedience to God. It could be that God is dealing with you regarding your party and clubbing lifestyle, and you know that the right thing for you to do is to stop any of that. But if you fail to do it, for you that would be sin. Perhaps it could be that there's someone in your life that you don't have contact with anymore, that you've stopped talking to, that God is asking you to forgive and to reach out to that person again. And if you fail to do it, that would be disobedience to God. For you, that would be sin. I just want to finish off by reading a scripture in Acts 5:29. But Peter and the apostles answered, "We must obey God rather than men." It doesn't matter what others are thinking. The main thing is that we are obedient to God, and all the things we do to please Him. And this could be something that's going to be really hard for you to do. It might be something that you don't particularly want to do. It might be something that's completely outside your comfort zone. It's something that you don't feel confident in whatsoever. But the thing is, we need to put our feelings aside, we need to put our flesh aside, and we need to make sure we live a life obedient to God. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.